How's it going, ladies and Bruce? It's Bobby Sixkilla, welcome back to the letter and the Ermengarde Mansion's housewarming party thing that we're going to be enjoying absolutely thoroughly as Ashton, the party hater. His actual whole timeline started real late in the overall timeline, so that's interesting. We're going to see a lot of new stuff, I think, in this character's playthrough, and then I'm wondering why Luke's last, but I guess we'll figure that out. Let's see what happens. By the time the party's in full swing, night has fallen. Yet there still isn't a Luke right in sight. The man can be quite ostentatious, but this, frankly, I'm impressed. I don't even know how many hors d'oeuvres I've already stuffed my face with. One too many, probably. The servers are already giving me the stink eye every time I saunter over to the buffet table. Blame your employer, not me. He's the one who has the guts to show up late. Besides, most of the guests' idle talk is concentrated in this area, despite standing under the same roof as the very people they're whispering about. Some just couldn't resist. I might as well keep an ear out for any useful info.
Is Suarez still fixing that tech problem?
Oh, that's a great voice. I wish I could make that voice. Is Suarez still fixing that tech problem?
Tech problem?
It's been 3 years. Sooner or later, the Blighter will put 2 and 2 together.
I want to master that voice. That's a great voice.
He might have already.
If the red tape I'm being slammed with these past few months suggests anything, that or someone's been pulling the strings, I wouldn't be shocked. The case would have not gone this long if Scumbag didn't have a mule of some kind in the force.
Shush you, we all know Suarez just wants an out.
It's obviously Lee, right?
I knew he was bad news the day the merger with Evans Incorporated happened. Feh. Glad I did not have to deal with that. But keep it down, someone might hear. Your wife especially.
Jesus Christ, there's every accent here. German, French, Scottish. Oh, oui. The kind of negligence has always been an advantage, but sometimes I wish I could be smashed drunk while doing this. Having sharp ears also means you get to hear the most unsavory things. Who cheated on who this week? One person's motives for bashing someone's skull against a wall, or a father's excuse for burning his own daughter alive, that sort of stuff. What the fuck? After a few years it gets tiring, you get desensitized to it. And humans can also be downright awful. Sometimes there simply isn't enough brain bleach in the world. Sadly, the wine's a no-go tonight, and mostly for show. I'm up for another drive later, for one, and I definitely want to be sober in case anything comes up. And something always comes up in assignments like this. A detective inspector dying of cardiac arrest, for example. Because I can feel the moment my heart grinds to a halt, the second I shift my eyes to the corner of the ballroom.
Hannah Wright.
Some say I'm acting a touch bit paranoid, and maybe I am. And this is a party, and she's the hostess. It goes to say that she'd be taking time to mingle with her guests. But Hannah Wright, née Evans, isn't without her fair share of accolades. At least to the public, she doesn't seem like it. Unlike her husband, she's the one with the business sense, not to mention the impressive track record needed to manage a company. Or effectively hide whatever irregularity there might be. She's clean, as far as my agents and I have found, but it doesn't rule out a possible involvement with whatever her husband's up to. Hell, Luke Wright can come out clean in previous reports until I bothered to take a deeper look in it. Whatever I found may not be sufficient to bring anyone to trial yet, but it's enough to nurture suspicion. This may be a bit of an overreaction, but no one lasts long in my line of work by being careless.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy.
Nothing to be worried about then. She's probably even more careful with appearances than her own husband, having grown up with the spotlight focused on her. Yet even knowing that, the anxiety stays. Has been here since the party started. I brushed it off earlier. Who wouldn't feel edgy, right? I've gone undercover in a party hosted by the very person I'm investigating. That in itself is risky and has plenty of room for error. Usually though, the tension passes around the first half hour or so. I've been trained to remain composed in situations like this. However, with each second I spend here, it only grows heavier and seeks to overwhelm. An odd feeling that someone is watching me instead. That's Rebecca. It's been like this since last week, but I should already be used to this. I can hear that whispering already and I don't like it. If you can't hear it, it's doing the whispery thing in my ear. I thought he didn't believe though. People would be looking at me, no matter how small or big of a blip I am on the radar. That's what they do in these things. But when the feelings of eyes burn into my back lingers longer than necessary, I've been looking around every now and then to catch the culprit. No luck. And despite my efforts to push the sensation as far down as I could, tiny pinpricks continue to sting the back of my head, and the ghost of a cold touch creeps up my limbs until my gaze switches back to Rebecca and Hannah Wright. She stands there, dark haired and dirty, sticking out like a sore thumb. Even so, no one seems to notice. Although she's looking away from me, her mere existence here strikes, disturbs. A sense of tunnel vision blinds me when I stand stock still and gape at her, like my life depends on making sure she stays where she is. Why does Ashton keep insisting he doesn't see anything and doesn't believe in anything when he's looking at her right now? I feel trapped in her presence until another guest bumps into me, yanking me out of my stupor. Only then do I realize that I've been holding my breath. Before I can figure out what happened, she's gone. A quick scan of the room yields no sign of her. The party continues as if nothing's amiss. Not really one to judge, but I'm sure someone like that would have not been allowed in a fancy thing like this. What is security being doing? Are they really that incompetent for someone so distinct to get in without notice? No, of course not. Did you look at her? She's got so many wounds she couldn't possibly be fucking alive anyway. There should have been an outcry by now, particularly from the host. She's been standing almost at arm's length away from the woman, and yet she simply continues to talk with Rebecca.
Oh, the professor! And your little Becky!
My parents couldn't make it since they're in Scotland right now. And Mom says hi, by the way.
Is there something in the food then? That I'm starting to see things? It couldn't have been the wine though. I'm every bit as sober as when I first stepped out of my car. The hors d'oeuvres? But why would anyone want to do that? Why would Luke Wright want to do that? He's fishy, but I couldn't see why he'd ever think it's a good idea to lace the food he served in his party with someone like Chief Lee on his guest list to boot. He's been linked to narcotics trade, yeah. However, that kind of tactic is below him. That much I could tell. Unless there's a mass murder waiting to happen here tonight, which I highly doubt. Never know, fingers crossed. So...
What the fuck was that?
But there's no time to look deeper into this even if I want to. Not when a telling silence comes upon the room and draws everybody's attention to the main doors of the ballroom.
About damn time.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party?
I was until you showed up.
I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the right mansion.
I've been tailing this guy for a while now. Before that I heard stories from previous officers who tackled this case, none of which are pleasant. Mind, I'm not counting the incident with Professor Clark yet. Pleasant is glossing over the gravity of it. While Wright's good at covering whatever shady stuff he's doing, he's shown to be a really rotten guy. At least, that's the case when he thinks none of his peers are around to judge him. I've lost track of how many counts of verbal abuse and harassment cases this guy could be pinned with. Fuck, he even tried to make a move on Isabella back in the open house, right in front of his wife. Standing in the same room as him doesn't make me want to punch him any less. Surely it would make it worse. Actually, the urge is stronger. But protocols. My case, first and foremost, my own opinion of the man shouldn't get ahead of my purpose here. If I want to put him in his place, it should be in court, with all proper charges filed against him. And I'll only be able to do that once I gather enough evidence to pin this bastard down.
Welcome, one and all, to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are our ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen. If you would excuse my presumptuousness.
1, the house is anything but humble. 2, what you just said is the opposite of humble. You even said at the end, if you'd excuse my presumptuousness, which means you know it's not humble. You fuck.
So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
Why, are you going somewhere else? Suppressing my annoyance, I prepare to step away from the crowd. Amidst the cheers and claps, now's as good a time as any to move. Try to find that something the McCullough woman talked about. In the first place, I have no plans to actually shake hands with the slimeball himself. A fake smile is plastered on my face while I pretend to listen to one of the other guests gossiping about him. All the while slowly inching out of the ballroom. Unfortunately, before I could get any further...
Are you feeling ill, Rochelle? Perhaps you need to sit down and...
Rich people only have 2 ways to resolve their mess. Either they quietly deal with it behind closed doors, or they create an even bigger problem out of it, and it just blows up in everyone's faces, one way or another. Fun.
No! Shut it, you monster! I ain't talking to you! I'm talking to this scumbag over here! You bloody bastard standing there with your smarmy smile!
Not even a few seconds in, it's already proving itself to be a big public spectacle. Why spend money on a television to buy daytime soap operas? You could just go to one of these parties and see the action unfold in real life. You get free food too. Really, if I were an actual guest, I'd take this as some sordid form of amusement.
Watch your tongue! You're on thin ice, Rochelle. Where's your husband? Who even invited you?
But I'm not a guest who's here for a good time. I need to focus on him, even through this whole sorry tale. So I wait, I listen, I observe. Interesting, isn't it though? That that's the Chief Inspector's wife. Of course it is. The morning after starts off quiet. Even the whole of Salemwell residences seem unusually still. The open hallway, when I step out, is devoid of tenants. No sounds coming from the other units either. It's almost as if something's brewing on the horizon. A peaceful night's sleep still does wonders for the mood though. I can't even remember the last time I slept without anything urgent interrupting. It's a nice break from all the bad news lately. If it wasn't for the insistent buzzing in my pocket waking me up, I'd sleep in. The ringing has stopped before I can move somewhere private, but sleep has also been effectively kicked out of my system by then. Pity I could use a little more rest until I have to face the other storm. Of course, I owe Rebecca an explanation. It doesn't matter if it's the whole truth or another hastily spun tale. Although I haven't really figured out how to go about this yet. Unlike Zach and Isabella, who don't usually ask questions and are content with what little I could share, Rebecca's rather quick on the trigger. It will have to be set aside for later though. The Chief's name stares back at me, almost as if it's mocking me. Sad. It would have been nice to just chill after last night, or maybe half listen to the news. Sure, it's the same thing we've been hearing lately. Still beats standing outside the chilly Luxbourne morning. On the phone with my boss. Sighing, I answer it, if only to get it over with.
Frey, where are you right now?
Now that's a tone I didn't expect from him at this hour. Just thinking about how this will go already gives me a headache. Immediately I reach up and pinch the bridge of my nose to stave it off.
This is why I won't ever drink myself senseless.
What was that?
Nothing, Chief. A pleasant morning to you too.
He's probably calling to rag on me, or complain about his wife, which is really none of my business unless it affects my case. It seems like the usual rich man cheats on his wife deal. Although, I would have followed up on it if it was someone else's wife. But figuring it's the Chief's, hey, I trust him to come clean if the missus is related to the right shady dealings. This is why I left before I even hauled the woman out last night. I'm not going to go around investigating cheating husbands and wives, when it's probably just that. Chief appears to have a different idea in mind, though.
There's nothing pleasant in the morning. Anyway, where are you? I told you millions of times before to keep your lines open.
We answered the phone, didn't we? He did, and not only him. Zach, Rebecca, Isabella, all of them have said the same thing numerous times in the past. But I was undercover last night. A phone call is the last thing I want to happen, when there are other things I need to focus on at the time. Besides, we have radios and work issue phones. Why isn't he using those channels if this is urgent?
Just woke up, sir. As awesome as it is to hear your voice this morning, it really is early. If you could give me a few minutes just to wake myself up, that'd be swell.
No need for that. This won't take long.
Is something wrong? Am I needed at the precinct ASAP?
Oh no, everything's good over there. Just... Look, kid. Frey. Don't take this personally, alright?
What?
You're off the Luxbourne firm case. Starting today.
Well, I did not expect to hear that either. That's supposed to be some kind of cosmic joke. I allow some awkward seconds to pass. Chief must be pulling another one of his awful pranks. Out of his bad mood or a severe hangover, maybe. Everyone knows that when given the chance, he exercises no control with his drinking. If it wasn't for his wife causing a stir, he'd probably be trashed at... he'd be trashed an hour in the party. He likely drank more after they threw her out of the ballroom. Besides, his sense of humor has never been good. It's just infuriating most of the time. And when he doesn't follow it up... If I sound a tiny bit frustrated speaking to my superior, I'm not the one to blame.
Wait, no. What? Are you kidding, Chief? Is this one of your practical jokes again? The temps won't say anything about it, but I...
It's not that. They're orders. From the higher-ups.
Ah, the higher-ups. Yes, my favorite word. Since when did the higher-ups ever care about what the Criminal Investigation Department did? As far as I can tell, they don't give a hoot if the CID is filled with cold cases, as long as we keep the spending low. When I need to view these old case files... When I need to view those old case files, though, they're locked away in the archives. We're gonna have to check with the higher-ups. I need access to these reports. See if the higher-ups would allow it. Every step, every move in this case. There isn't one that hasn't been gated by some authority. If it's not the chief, it's the commissioner, or so they always tell me. It makes one wonder why they even bother assigning it to anyone. Not a single one of them has done anything to help move the case. And they wonder why it's taken so long for even a hint of progress to show.
You can't just drop this on me. You can't just take me off like that.
Yes, I can. And I'm sorry, Ashton. You're a good detective. One of the best I've seen in years, but...
3 years, Chief. 3 years!
3 years since the anonymous tech leak blew up. Since Luke Wright's name was openly linked to several nasty dealings within Luxborn's corporate world, some of them involving deaths. 3 years and I was the only one who made it this far. Made so much progress that the officers with more experience weren't able to do when they handled this case. Just within a year, and with barely any help from the damn brass at that. Of course, I'll be pissed.
Do you know what would have happened if I didn't work my ass off on this thing? If I didn't dedicate a whole year of my time on it, it would have gone cold, like every fucking case Luke Wright has been linked to. I saved this from getting thrown into the archives, sir. I'm getting close. If you could just...
I'm fully aware of what you've done, Frey. But the Commissioner hasn't been happy with your progress. Still too slow by their standards.
Too slow? Well, what about those reports I filed? I've documented every freaking thing for them. I've given you every important lead I can gather. Isn't that enough?
They need results, not a bunch of research papers. Not one baseless assumption after another.
Well, fuck.
Concrete proof, Frey.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry. They've already made a decision.
concrete proof's pretty hard to get around here, especially with people like him.
They're going to pass this on to someone who's been in the Force longer. Someone who has more experience.
You?
Someone who has more experience?
They meant nothing by it, but you're still too young to work on a case this big.
Chief, I've already done more than what those old farts ever did behind their desks. All of it, within just a year of being assigned to this.
Watch your language, Frey. Those are your superiors,
I'm not some damn rookie fresh out of training. I'm as qualified as they are.
Futile, I know it is. They never say it within earshot, but from the very minute I stepped into their precinct, a lot of them had underestimated me, from their stares alone to the assignments I get. To them, I'm still just a kid, too young, too green, too inexperienced. I looked at your profile, you're 29, that's not a kid. 29, man. You're nearly a 30-year-old. That's nearly middle-aged. And once they pull that card on me, every argument I have gets thrown out the window. No matter how logical it is, how much I've accomplished, what that record says, or the amount of work I put into every investigation they throw in my way.
We're all aware of your skills, kid. You wouldn't have that badge and rank if you weren't good enough. However, this case is just not for you. Too high profile, too risky to put a good officer like you in harm's way.
Now you're changing your tune. Can he even hear himself? That reasoning is odd in itself. No one joins this line of work without knowing the dangers of it.
Don't I get a second chance? You said it yourself. I'm a good detective. It'll just be a matter of time before we can close this.
It doesn't matter what I think, Frey. You're off the case, and that's final. I expect all related files and documents on my desk by Monday morning. And don't even try to go touch anything. I know how hard-headed and determined you are.
Chief, please. A few more weeks. I'll have the proper evidence left on your desk by then. I swear it won't take longer than that.
Afraid it's too late, boy. I've already informed the other officers. You aren't to be allowed access until you've been given a new assignment. Hell, just keep out of the precinct, Frey. Take the weekend off.
Seriously, Chief, is this about last night? If this is about me being at that party, I have a good reason for...
You were at the party.
It makes me pause. His weary tone, the sudden careful note in his voice. Slowly a frown forms in my face, my eyebrows knitting together in confusion. Much as I hate to say this about my own boss, there's also suspicion in it. Hard not to think of it the way he's seeing how he acted around Hannah Wright last night. Is he worried? Why should he be? Everyone who's anyone was invited. I didn't doubt for a second why he received an invite, even if his presence was questionable. There's something wrong, and I've unintentionally walked into it. All I have is a sneaking suspicion, but when one looks at this from a different angle, put everything together, why the hell I've been taken off this case might be the same reason why he was there in the first place. Fuck.
Yes, Chief, I was. For a good reason. What were you doing there? I know we don't have a strict rule against attending functions, but that was...
He coughs, and it almost sounds like he's choking on his own excuses? Lies? I don't want to accuse him of anything. Yet. He's someone I've respected since I joined the LPD. Even with his bizarre sense of humor and tendency to procrastinate. He's obviously competent enough to get the job done. He wouldn't be Chief Inspector of Luxbourne Police if he wasn't. He wouldn't last years in service without some track record backing him. Unless that too is a fluke. And what's backing him is not something, but someone. Oh. Oh shit. Fucking hell. Fucking shit.
Chief Harvey, about last night with the...
Why does it matter, Frey? This isn't about that.
Why does it matter? Why does it matter? I'll recite the whole damn oath we've take upon being sworn into service if I can, but at this point, it seems too late to remind him of that. He's probably already moved from serving and protecting people to serving and protecting his own interests. Damn it. I've suspected the upper brass of this, even the lower ranked subordinates in the force, but from my own boss? Shit, no wonder that leak didn't lead anywhere. Someone closer might have pulled the strings. I might have been set up to fail long before the fucking case had been assigned to me. But I don't want to just give this up. I don't want to believe I've wasted an entire year for this. I don't want to be this kind of news. Don't want this kind of news to tell Professor Clark after all those promises I've given the man.
I just want to know, sir, at the party, with Luke and Hannah Wright, you were...
Monday, Detective Inspector. First thing in the morning. Every copy of the files you have, I want to see all on my table, understood?
This isn't...
Frey, am I understood?
What else can I do other than smile and nod? With my own superior expecting an answer using that tone, brushing my questions off as easy as discarding a dead body.
Yes. Yes, sir.
He cuts the line as soon as the words are out. You're off the case, Frey, just like that. Funny why this still caught me off guard. I've discovered years ago how different the actual thing is, how far from reality everything I believed in as a dreamy-eyed kid. There are no high-speed pursuits every day, no thrilling gunfights or exciting cases every step of the way. Only paperwork, lots of red tape, and dealing with politics and bureaucracy. That's life, man. Politics and bureaucracy. I've set out to change things, hoping it'll make things better for the people I care about. It ended up changing me instead. Serves me right for being too idealistic, I guess. This is probably the universe telling me that it's better to remain the skeptic I really am. Now here I am, standing useless. Can't even do anything but grit my teeth and kick the wall that... The bastard didn't even acknowledge my response.
What did the poor wall ever do to you?
Figures Rebecca would be the one to find me in this embarrassing state. Honestly, I don't like it when she sees me like this. It seems to happen a lot, regardless of what I want.
Rebecca, now's not a good time.
The concern I expect from her when I turn isn't there, however. Instead, she just looks, well... The storm I left brewing last night, it's right there on her face, ready to be unleashed.
When is it ever a good time for you? You're always so busy with everything now.
Don't have to worry about that, because I just got kicked off the case. I got nothing to do. I got all the free time in the world now.
Now I find you here, sneaking out without even bothering with a proper goodbye. Not even a word. Really, I'm starting to think you're just keeping me around for my couch and my cooking.
Becca, it's not what you're thinking. I wasn't planning on sneaking out. I was going to say goodbye. I just had to take this call. Although I'm not gonna lie, couch is great. 10 out of 10, would sleep again.
Stop it with the jokes, Ashton. I'm not in the mood.
Her bitterness is not lost on me, but at this point in our friendship, in our lives, how does she still expect me to answer that? What am I supposed to tell her now?
Are you still mad about last night?
She merely raises an eyebrow at me, which, to be honest, is all the response I need. Of course she is, stupid. Seeing her like this makes me believe those things Z-Man says, the part where Rebecca scares him sometimes. I've certainly seen this more than once already. But the familiarity of it doesn't really take away from the downhill turns this conversation's starting to take. Only an awkward cough serves as a way to stall.
Okay, of course you're still mad. But whatever happened last night, I really am sorry. I'll apologize as many times as you want. If you want, I'd even kneel or something.
Ashton, an apology is nice and all, but that's not what I wanted to hear from you today.
Alright, fine, okay. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I don't know. I've honestly lost track of it by your third trip to the buffet table.
I wasn't... The drive up there took a bit. Can you blame me if I wanted to grab some appetizers?
Free food, man.
Oh, come on, Ash! For the whole evening? For the whole party? Please don't tell me that's all you did, because I've never known you as someone who pigs out. You even took great lengths to avoid me. Should I also mention how you ignored Zach? Sometimes I get the feeling you don't want to be seen with us in public. Some friendship, huh?
You know it's not like that. It's never going to be like that, Becca.
I'll ask this again. Just what were you up to during the party? What were you doing that you couldn't even take 2 seconds to make time for your friends?
I couldn't even look her in the eye. It wasn't that I wanted to avoid them. I did keep Zach safe. I did it to keep Zach safe, to keep Rebecca safe. Just in case. Client or family friend, it was still a party hosted by a person of interest, by a man accused years ago of murdering a person's wife to get what he wanted. But then Chief showed up. Hannah Wright happened, and Luke Wright just can't be bothered to die peacefully somewhere. All of a sudden, none of my original reasons mattered. If I was found out right then and there, hell, if Zach and Rebecca's connection with me was found out, who knows what might have happened. But Rebecca doesn't understand that. Doesn't understand what I can and can't say to keep them from harm. It's all in her eyes, and the tight line of her lips and her furrowed brows. Why doesn't you just say that to her then? The hurt. This day is off to a wonderful start. First my case, now Becca. How do I even go about this? Stretch the truth? Obviously I couldn't just say, hey Becca, you know the Wrights, they're suspected to be ringleaders of a crime syndicate and shit like that. That's what I would say. Just say that. We're not even on the case anymore. Who gives a shit? Protocol or otherwise, there are so many things I'm not allowed to tell the others. Even if I am able to share information with civilians, knowing anything could very well put them in danger. That's why I keep it vague, obscure the facts, or, when push comes to shove, stretch the truth and lie through my teeth. It's a necessity I've grown to deal with. It has already become part of me, no matter how much I loathe doing it.
I mentioned it, didn't I? I was there on behalf of someone else. I was on business, Becca. I wasn't there to have a good time.
She doesn't look convinced, at all. Although she's the very picture of someone who's at least willing to listen, her glare effectively takes a good 20 off my current ears. I feel like a kid again, being reprimanded by my junior high teacher for sleeping in class. But getting away with that is easier than this one. It's the thing with someone you've been friends with for so long. They're the ones who know you inside out. Good grades won't be enough for Rebecca to let this whole thing slide.
You couldn't even spare a single second to mingle.
Of course he could.
What was I supposed to say? Hi, fancy meeting you here. Would you like to dance? By the way, those appetizers were really good. You should try some. Like that. I've got a boss guy breathing down my neck. I don't exactly have the luxury of doing as I please.
This much is true. My reasons for being at the party too. However, Chief's presence last night made a lot of things difficult. Approaching them was out of the question when there was someone watching. A person who knew the reason why I was there. It turned out to be a good call on my part. But for someone who's already angry beyond reason, everything will only sound like an excuse.
Cut the shite. I saw you stuffing your face with the deviled eggs, while your own boss is off on the other side of the room.
He didn't even know we were there.
You didn't even exchange a word or a glance with him either. In fact, I think you're also avoiding the man. Just say you don't want to talk about it instead of lying to my face.
I do feel guilty, still. We've already been down this road. This is something I've done so repeatedly in the past. Something she's heard from me more times than all of my fingers could count. Something I'll just have to get over with at this moment.
I'm sorry, you know that, Becca. I really, really am. I wouldn't do this shit if I didn't have a good reason to.
And you know that I don't like you lying to me! If you can't tell the truth, just don't say anything and shut your gob!
You're kind of insisting I say something.
I swear, Ashton Frey, you are just so dense! I'm so angry. I can't even bear to look at you right now because I swear I'll knock you right off your block! I mean, what good reason could you have to act like an antisocial asshole?
Because he's an antisocial asshole. That's why.
The only time you did talk to me was to spout some vague nonsense about Luke. What was that all about? Were you somehow expecting me to just accept everything as it is?
You really shouldn't go near that man, Becca.
Why? Because you don't trust him?
Double down on that.
I wonder if you actually trust anyone. Aside from the three of us, Zach, Isabella, and myself, do you even have any other friends? If you're perfectly fine with that, then go ahead. No one is stopping you. But don't expect me to share the same views. I can have a life of my own. Friends that I don't necessarily share with you. I'm an adult, Ashton, and I can make my own bloody decisions. I sure as hell can choose the people I want to let into my life.
Of course she's allowed to do as she pleases. I never mentioned she couldn't. Us growing up together doesn't mean it always has to be just the two of us. It's a dumb idea to believe in when nothing ever remains constant. Things will inevitably change through the years. She'll make friends with people outside our little circle. I'm just as free to form relationships with other people. But why of all people did it have to be him? Why does it have to be Luke Wright? That guy has nothing but trouble. How can she defend a guy like that? She's already calling him Luke, for Pete's sake.
I trust Zach, I trust Isabella, and I trust you, Rebecca. So why can't you trust me on this? You need to stay away from that man. Because he's... I really wish I could tell you.
What was that saying Isabella mentioned before? A liar is a brother of a thief? People who look at me now will probably say I'm an air's breath away from being a criminal. Z-Mad said something like that once, a few years into our friendship. I laughed it off back then, but now? They're probably right. Little by little, I'm becoming the very kind of person I hate. How ironic. The silence afterward brings an even heavier air between us. Something that Rebecca, thankfully, doesn't allow to linger more than necessary.
I suppose you have to go now, huh?
The situation's already awkward as it is. Dragging this out will only make it worse. Make it more... what? Difficult? Messed up? As if it isn't already.
Back to your case again?
I don't really have to. I have no case. As far as the job is concerned, I have the weekend off until I report to Chief on Monday. Although I don't want to just throw in the towel on this. Orders are orders. This isn't like the movies. I don't get to say, fuck off, throw my gun and badge at him, become some vigilante, save the day and get my job back. I'd rather get my ass thrown in jail than do any of that. But it's also not in my nature to sit still and do nothing. It'll drive me crazy if I just idle about. Besides, there's someone who has to know about this whole Luke Wright thing.
Yeah, I need to go talk to Professor Clark. And there's something else I need to look into.
That other matter she mentioned last night, specifically. The same stuff Zachary has been trying to tell me. Things that even the news have been blasting out to the general populace lately. Evening, afternoon, morning, all deaths with the same modus, blamed on a single serial killer. Or is it still the case?
Found dead in the early hours of the morning today. The fire was contained within the room and no other tenants were harmed, according to Luxborn police.
We're grasping at straws as far as these murders are concerned. In the first place, I'm not even the one heading this investigation. He'd look at me treating it as if it's another high-profile case on my shoulder. How sad is that? Although all three of my friends have mentioned seeing something strange, I don't want to go into that line of thinking for now. Not yet. Not until I've exhausted every logical argument I could throw at it. To be honest though, I don't know how to take all this anymore. But I've already given Isabella my word. It'd bother me more if I didn't follow up on a promise I made to her. And after Rebecca's claims last night, there won't be enough sarcasm in the world if what my friends have been telling me is true. I can already hear Isabella's laughter, in fact.
Figures. What else can it be?
It's not another case. It's something else. That issue Isabella mentioned yesterday morning. I'm sure you remember. You were there.
Well, at least you're not neglecting all your friends.
Becca, I promised her I'll...
She doesn't wait for me to finish. With a roll of her eyes, she turns around and shuts the door in my face. No idea what I've said this time, but...
I probably deserve that.
We'll just have to fix this some other time. By then, her temper's sure to have cooled off significantly. Hopefully. Alright, we better wrap this one up, seeing we're out of time. Again, yeah, we're not making friends out here. In fact, we're losing them pretty quickly, but I don't understand how someone like Ashton has friends in the first place, because he's reasonably unbearable. But, whatever. I guess his heart's in the right place. If that's enough of a reason, I don't know. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.